For too long, theology has begun with fear. It assumed humanity was beyond repair, a creature so corrupted that only total replacement could save it. Philosophy and myth agreed. Humans are weak, unreliable, unfit for God's work. So the story became one of domination, substitution, and control. Melekism says something different. We say the heart of revelation is trust. God calls. God tests. God appoints. God entrusts. This is not sentiment. It is the pattern of the scriptures. Abraham called, Moses sent, prophets commissioned, David anointed. Each is proof that God can and does place responsibility in human hands. Jesus stands at the center of that testimony. Not as a disguised deity, but as the decisive human whom God declared trustworthy. At his baptism, the voice from heaven did not speak about metaphysical substance. It declared a commission. This is my Son. In him I am well pleased. That declaration is a public trust, a divine appointment. It makes Jesus not an exception to humanity, but the model of what a human entrusted by God looks like: faithful, courageous, obedient to conscience, and aligned with the one who sent him. If God can trust a human, then trust becomes the organizing principle of divine action. God never designed creation to be ruled by him alone, but by humans entrusted with his authority. He chose to raise people, real, fallible, accountable people, to carry authority and to act in his name. That delegation is not a weakness in God. It is his intention for creation. This understanding overturns the theology of distrust. Paul's pessimistic anthropology turned conscience into a liability and made salvation into a transaction. A substitute comes and does for us what we could not do. That system removes the call to moral growth and replaces it with passive dependence. It tells us that humans cannot be trusted, so God must always replace rather than restore. Melekism rejects that. We refuse a gospel that teaches human failure as a final verdict. Conscience is not the enemy of revelation. It is its vehicle. Conscience is the capacity to hear, to reason, to choose, the inner faculty that discerns truth and resists deception. When God entrusts a person, he awakens conscience, not suppresses it. Faith without conscience is empty. Conscience without faith is blind. What we must recover is their union, a disciplined conscience guided by divine truth. To be trustworthy is not to be perfect. It is to be faithful. It is to stand when no one is watching, to resist easy compromise, to refuse manipulation even when power beckons, to act out of moral clarity rather than instinct or coercion. When a human does this, God's trust is justified and revelation advances. That is the path Jesus walked. That is the path Melekism calls every person to follow. This is a restoration, not a novelty. Melekism does not invent a new cult nor promote mysterious rites. It returns to the covenant of trust the faith once proclaimed, a God who waits, calls, affirms, and entrusts. It affirms that human beings were created to grow into trust, and that through conscience and courage, they can carry the authority God bestows. So this is our call: to reclaim responsibility, to cultivate conscience, and to accept the weight of divine trust. Not because we are God's, but because we are chosen to be faithful. When we answer that call, the same voice that spoke at the baptism can speak again over many. This is my child. In them I am well pleased. Melek Ministry, restoring trust, renewing responsibility, calling people into faithful service.